I ask questions on behalf of Southall Black Sisters and Solace Women's Aid, who, as you will know, are part of the Violence Against Women. So my two topics are on domestic abuse, which is something that you told us yesterday you were personally very alive to that issue. And you will know that the regulations, the stay-at-home regulations, contained a number of exemptions. One of them was that you could leave because of risk of injury. And we've heard from Mr. Hancock, and it's obvious that that was intended to include risk of domestic abuse besides anything else. Yes. I want to ask you about messaging. My first topic is on messaging, which you've told us is not just an important part of an MPI, but actually an important MPI in itself. And the messages are your addresses to the nation when you announce lockdown. And there were 5 in total. The 23rd of March, the first lockdown, the 31st of October when you say there's going to be the second lockdown, the 5th of November when the details of the second lockdown are announced, the 19th of December, which is Tier 4, and then the 4th of January 2021 when you announce the third lockdown. And in all those addresses, you emphasise quite rightly that people must stay at home throughout. And you also refer to some of the exemptions. So on the 23rd of March, you say people will only be allowed to leave their home for the following very limited purposes. And those 4 purposes are shopping, exercise, medical need, travelling to and from work if that's absolutely necessary. And you conclude that part by saying that's all. These are the only reasons you should leave your home. On the other occasions, 31st of October, 5th of November and the 19th of December, you give similar lists. On the 31st of October, you do include the words escaping risk of injury or harm. But on none of those addresses throughout 2020 do you say that people can leave if they're at risk of domestic abuse. You do say that on the 4th of January 2021. You say that explicitly, where you say, or to escape domestic abuse. So why was domestic abuse not mentioned earlier than January 2021?
Thank you. I think that you're making a very good point, and I think in retrospect, we should have given consideration to mentioning that issue explicitly earlier. That didn't mean we were silent or inattentive to the problem. We put money into helplines almost immediately. I think in April we set up the Ask for Annie scheme. I think we as you know, there was a so people could go. So people, under the rules, people could go out to the chemist, for instance.
Well, I'm going to stop because I will probably come on to that, and I'm interested in messaging for the moment. Would you say that the failure to mention it, which you've just acknowledged in hindsight, was an error, is compounded by that phrase of the 23rd of March, saying that's all, these are the only reasons you should leave your home?
Well, I think that I hope that people would have understood that to report a criminal offence was also a reason to leave your home. But clearly, it was something we should have made explicit.
Mm. And in her evidence to the inquiry, Dame Priti Patel, your Home Secretary at the time, said that she and her department had raised the need with Downing Street to refer to domestic abuse amongst the exemptions. So why did you or your team not respond to those representations sooner than January 2021?
I don't remember her raising that with me.
My second topic is about the hidden harms, which is, I think, what you were referring to a moment ago when I stopped you. And you say at paragraph 542 of your statement, we'd learnt many lessons from the first lockdown. We considered such things as the hidden harms, like increased domestic abuse and child abuse, and we wanted to ensure it was essential that services supporting women and children remained available and steps were taken to tackle these crimes. So that's post-first lockdown, learning lessons, and of course there was a Hidden Harms Summit in May 2020 as we're beginning to come out of the first lockdown. In fact, during second and third lockdown, the same thing happened with domestic abuse as it happened with the first lockdown. Rates of domestic abuse increased during lockdown. So what lessons were learned and implemented for the second and third lockdown in order to protect women and girls from domestic abuse?
Well, in addition to the investment in the helplines, which I think, as I say, began almost immediately in the Ask for Annie scheme, where a victim of domestic abuse could go to the chemist and say that she...
That was in February 2021.
Say that she had a problem. In, I think, March 2020 and April 2020, the domestic violence bill is going through the Commons.
That's got nothing to do with lockdown.
And well, it was actually, I think, a useful tool against DV, giving new statutory powers against coercive behaviour, one kind or another, and other measures. We put money into independent from, I think, right from the beginning of the government. We put more money into independent sexual violence advisors and independent domestic violence advisors, and across Whitehall, so people you could ring up, or people who would help you address the appalling issues that you face. But what we also did across Whitehall was to try to solve what, in my view, is still a chronic problem, which is the inability of the criminal justice system to deal with crimes of rape, domestic violence, sexual violence of all kinds, and to get enough prosecutions. Right. So the government as a whole was working a great deal on this issue, and specifically trying to address the needs of women in lockdown.
The domestic abuse bill received royal assent in April 2021 and
Correct.
started to come into force in July 2021.
Correct.
So that doesn't help us with the...
But you asked me what we were doing. And
in respect to the second and third lockdowns.
Well,
Did you not hear that part? I apologise.
Well, as I said, we put money into helplines almost immediately, and did our best to encourage people to come forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you, Ms Davies.